So today is just all about supporting you guys. I am here. Again, my name is Petro. If you are new to my page or new to my work, I'm the founder of Teach Through Love. And my goal, what I love to do, is really support you guys. And I think I just found a new love in Facebook Live because I just have to push a button and I can connect with you. So that was really cool. If you were trying to get in on the conference call line, I'm sorry. I have like crazy connectivity going on and I can't dial in. I just keep getting a busy signal. So I'm going to be here and then you guys can get the recording. But if you want the MP3 to this to download after, if you miss it, you can sign up on the website or just come on over to the page and you can find out the links for everything. So what is conscious parenting? If you're new, again, to my work or just to this, you came here to get help and you're like, what the hell is she talking about, conscious parenting? For me, conscious parenting is not this. It's not a set of rules. It's not attachment parenting. It's not like this list I give you, follow this, and then you will have, children that are easy. Conscious parenting is really a set of beliefs about what children need to thrive, mentally, physically, emotionally, and especially emotionally, because that's what a lot of us did not receive as children. So it can be very hard to parent consciously and with awareness. So parenting consciously for me is about staying aware of my emotions, other people's emotions, instead of just letting my emotions sort of take me off and fly away. And then I start reacting. I start operating from my lower brain center. I become defensive. I become offended. And I start reacting with fear. And then I increase the tension. So conscious parenting for me is about how do we learn to build our tolerance so that we can stay aware and emotionally present. So I've got a lot of really great questions that have come in. And I think so many of you guys are sharing so many of the same questions because we all really want the same thing, right? We want a strong relationship with our kids. We want to enjoy our kids. We want to not be so stressed in feeling like our kids run the house or feeling like we are getting angry over everything or like nobody's listening to us. I think that's what a lot of parents struggle with. And then kids, the same thing. They feel like they're always being nagged or nobody's listening to them and maybe they're shutting down. Or maybe you have a really sensitive child who is hyper-reactive. And I know that because I'm a sensitive person. So I grew up as that highly sensitive child being told you're overreacting and not understanding why I felt things so intensely. And now I'm parenting one. And I think there's a lot of these behavior myths that go around, and they keep us from being able to parent with confidence and with awareness. So you're told, you have to be firm on discipline, and you have to not let children get away with things. You have to make sure that they respect you, and you need to let them know who's in charge, and all of these traditional ideas around what the relationship, the parent-child relationship is supposed to be. So I'm here. When you're done reading all the books and consulting all the experts, come to me and I will show you how to take these ideas, these abstract ideas, and make them concrete. You guys know that I love the conscious parenting connecting words, these conscious cards that I make and I put out every Monday. Again, if you're new, just come on over to the page and you'll see new ones every Monday, and you can download a printable version. I have products in the work, but this is really one of the keys, is this communication piece, really learning how to transform the blame, the shame, the judgment, and the guilt into words that still set limits, that are not permissive, but that are, that set limits with compassion, without us feeling like we are becoming, again, overrun by our own emotional dysregulation. Because I feel like, there was that whole ice cream mom recently, and I did not blame that mom for acting like a jerk with her kids. Because frankly, I have acted like a jerk with my kid. I just don't want us to stand up for that kind of parenting. I want us to come and get support. When we act like that, come and share and express in our community, on our page, all of those things. And you get it out, and then you get support. Like, let's not tear down the moms for feeling like that, for having those moments. Let's come and support each other. So I'm here to really create this place where you can come and we can forget about all those myths and everybody who's telling us what to do, and learn how to build your tolerance. And especially, I don't think that we need to teach kids how to be kind, appropriate, this or that. We just need to let their innate potential flourish. We are all born with the innate potential to succeed and thrive if we're given the right conditions, if we are given the time and the repetition and the connection, the relationship that's needed for us to develop and to mature. So that's what's really, really important. It's about this, creating the environment. That's what conscious parenting is for me. It's about how do we create this environment where our children can thrive. All right, that's enough of that. I've got a supporting sensitive kids class where you can learn all about that. You can use the code SUMMER16 and get $100 off now through June 10th, Friday. And then we can talk all about that and you can join me in more support calls. Now let's get to our free stuff. I see a lot of you guys have found me. So hi, Angie. All you guys are, let's look. And Katie, everybody's there. Thank you for joining me. If you were on the call, I know Melissa, my assistant, she's like, you're not there on the call. I can't get through. I don't know what's happening, but I can't get through on the call. So I've got everybody's questions here that came through. And you can post questions here as well. I'll try to get through as many as I can. Of course, I can't always get to everybody's because there's so many of you guys. But let's start with a couple of common ones. Now, I feel like some of these are so common that I've kind of grouped them together. But we have a mom who's struggling. This was actually one of the first questions I saw on the page. We have a mom who's struggling with outbursts of frustration and no when we ask for help with cleaning up messes, doing personal chores, picking up toys, putting dishes in the sink, those kinds of things. Mom says, I know we need more consistency with structure and expectations for picking up after oneself versus mom just caving and doing everything to avoid the outburst. But how do we implement and set that expectation of being responsible with cleaning up after themselves? So the first thing we want to look at is how old are these kids? Because we really need to look at what children can accomplish without help. Not what you think they can do because you see it, because you've seen them put away all their toys in the toy box once when they were feeling really great and motivated and they knew they were going to play afterwards or something. Because at 3.5, we have a 3.5 and a 5-year-old. So these children can get easily overwhelmed by the demands of life. Right? So this is about introducing life skills, not by insisting that, this is the way of life and you have to learn. Because again, humans are already born with that innate potential to succeed if they're properly nurtured. So this is really about bringing the fun into things, small bits for a 3.5-year-old. I really want to look at not like go clean up that whole mess, but let's pick up all the toy cars and doing it together, inviting them in. Yes, if they're tired, if they're hungry, if it's been a long day, they're going to be less able. So it's not about standing over them and forcing the rules, but about inviting them in to participate. Small bits, also breaking it down into really small chunks. Go clean your room or go clean up that mess. It's a very vague request for a 3.5-year-old and even for a 5-year-old, because we have to look at what are the skills of planning and organizing to clean up, to gather the supplies, to organize, to put everything away, to organize our brain. Brains are sluggish and slow. I just posted a quote. Let me pull it up here. It says, it was by Dr. David Linden, who I was listening to on NPR one day. And he said, if our neurons weren't such lousy processors and we didn't need billions of them massively interconnected in order to make a clever brain out of such lousy parts, then we wouldn't have such a long childhood. And without that long, without that long childhood, evolution wouldn't have equipped us with the force that bonds parents together to protect their children. We wouldn't have love. So your children needing you to participate in these kinds of activities is where the bonds are. It's what gives them the belief in themselves that they can do it. So, consistency for us, I think is, it's like we think we have to be consistent in all of these rules. And the only thing that we have to be consistent in is our responsiveness. So when the child does not pick up the toy, that you don't get more harsh, more firm, to start taking away things, if you don't, then I will. Because then you just create an atmosphere of negativity. I don't believe in you, so I'm going to challenge you to do this. Or I've seen you do this before, so you better now. Or you make my life easier, do this now kind of thing. That's the attitude that we go in kids are like, yeah, whatever, that's too much for me. I'm going to shut down. I'm going to check out. And as they grow, the more they have to check out from our demands, and the more they don't feel like, okay, I've got some help, somebody's going to do this with me. And at more and more levels of, kids can handle greater and greater stressors in life as they get older. So a 3.5-year-old, if they make a whole huge mess, I'm not going to expect them to do it without help. My 10-year-old came in recently, made a huge big mess, didn't realize that it was going to make such a mess, and then wanted help cleaning it up. First refused. So this is a chance where I had to just stay firm and confident and not offended by her frustration that she had to do it and her upset that it was interfering with the fact that she wanted to go back to an activity. I wasn't allowing her to go back to that activity until she cleaned up this mess that it actually, that she made. And I was doing something else. I didn't have time to really sit with her. If she was 5, yeah, I'd be helping her more. But at 10, I was like, I know you can do this. And it took her some time, but it was about me not getting upset that she was refusing. And me not, because she eventually came around. The limit was, you're not going back to this activity until this is done. And I'll help you to whatever extent I can, but I'm not going to do it for you. So again, 3.5 and 5, it's about introducing these life skills, especially with play. Play is a really great way to invite children in. And then look at, the stress. I always look at 3 things when we're talking about behavior. This is any behavior, any issue. What is our goal? Is it stress? We're trying to reduce the stress. We are trying to build the skills. Sorry, somebody called in. It's supposed to not interrupt my live feed, and calls aren't supposed to, but they did. So are we trying to reduce stress? Are we trying to build skills? Or are we looking at a relationship challenge? Because a kid will not clean up if they feel like they have no say in anything. They feel really controlled. They may be resisting cleaning up because they're holding on to their autonomy. There also may be the child who is resisting because they feel overwhelmed. It's been a long day, something's troubling them, they just feel stressed out and anxious, they can't do it all by themselves, so they start to shut down or withdraw. That's a stress challenge, right? So we're going to work on coping tools, we're going to work on listening, we're going to work on helping that child offload what's preventing them. So we don't say, do it or else. We say, you know what, I know that you normally clean up after yourself, so I'm wondering what got in the way, or what you're having trouble with, or we just wait it out. I know you're going to get this done. Everything really depends on our responses. It's always about how do we respond to our kids. If we've been controlling and demanding them, they are going to be resistant. It's going to take a little bit of shift because it's really about starting to listen and understand. Now, that is these are really general, you guys, because obviously every situation is going to be different. Every situation. Yes, if you guys are on the call, I can't get through. So let me try again here. I'm going to call in right now and see if I couldn't get through earlier. I'm going to try right now, and then we'll do our dual broadcast. No, I can't get through. For some reason, I cannot get through on the conference line, so I'm glad we're having the live broadcast because it would have been a total wash. But for some reason, I can't get through, so I'm glad that we have this. If you're on the call in line, I can't access it. I'm so sorry. So let's go to, so relationship, right? If we're looking at a kid who feels overburdened and they're refusing because they're trying to retain that sense of autonomy, it's about, what does it feel like for you when I ask that? And then listening and not saying, well, I know you feel frustrated, but you have to. Leaving off that but. And Amy Bryant of Parenting Beyond Punishments put it so beautifully when she said, when we empathize with our children in the same breath that we tell them what we need to get done, it's like we invalidate all of that. We invalidate all of that empathy. So listening is not about, I know you're sad, but. It's really about, I know you're sad, tell me more about that. Or I know this is really frustrating for you, I want to help. What's going on? And look at when we're looking at these expectations. When are we asking kids to clean up? But the consistency is not really in the routines and the rules and all of that, because some of us just aren't that consistent, but it's really in the consistency of me gently setting this limit and then waiting while you work through whatever it is that you're working through to get through it. Now, we think, oh, well, kids don't have all that time. But if you let them have that time at 3, 4, 5, and 6, when their prefrontal cortex, the higher brain, the executive center of the brain, which allows them to pay attention, to focus, to stay on task, to empathize, to be, to see your perspective, all of that doesn't even really come online until they're a little bit older. So we start pushing it really young, and then kids, they're overwhelmed by the expectation. So that's a lot of brain science. We could talk about that all day, but look at it. Stress, skills, relationship. What am I really trying to get out of this particular moment? All right, here's another question. How do I get my toddler to keep trying rather than get frustrated and give up? He knows how to take his shoes off, but will regularly get frustrated when trying and just throw a tantrum and give up. So really the simple answer to that is, and it's kind of hard for us because we have to work through some of our own stuff maybe, but it's patience. Patience, acknowledgement, this is hard. All those shoelaces, they're all tangled. You're so frustrated about that. And then, just silence, allowing the tears, welcoming those tears. My daughter is highly reactive. She once, screamed for 35 minutes because we turned left instead of going right, and she thought we were going the other way to get something. And we, and that at 3.5, you'd think, oh, she should get over that. No, it frustrated her to the point she had just left a birthday party, so she was probably really overwhelmed because she has a lot of sensory stuff that makes her really overwhelmed easily. So that one small change, but I let her have that upset for that whole time, and I didn't try to change her frustration. We always try to. I think that we want to move our kids out of their experience, and that frustration that your child is having, that's his to have. Let him have that frustration, because while you sit there and support him through it with just acknowledgement, empathy, sensory tools to help kids regulate when they're, needing something to squeeze or rip or breathe, when they're needing those tools, definitely we're offering those tools. We're using our touch and our attention to regulate, to co-regulate with them, but not trying to get rid of that frustration. Allow your child his frustration. Allow him some space. Because again, in that moment, we're not talking about what he knows. He knows how to take off his shoes. We're talking about more what he is able to do without help in that moment. And young children, their brain signals are messy and they're slow. They're sluggish in those early years. So what can we do in that one moment, and what they can do in that one moment can be affected by so many different things. But check in with yourself. Where's the frustration with you watching him get upset and maybe throw things down? Maybe just staying with him in that moment. You threw that. You didn't want to finish it. And then again, just quiet, just being with our kids, but checking in. Where do I feel worried? Where do I feel frightened about this? Because suddenly you start checking in, you're like, oh, I'm the one that's scared. He's having a normal, typical, age-appropriate reaction to frustration that he will develop out of with the right soil, right? The right watering at the right times. When we provide that environment, when we cultivate the soil, then this will be, that will provide the environment for him to grow and to thrive and to develop. But it's a really, really it takes a really long time for that. All right, I see all you guys there. Emily's asking, I hope I can watch this later. Yes, it should be right on the Facebook page. Hopefully it's streaming okay, because it did say when I first started, it was giving me a little glitch notice. So hopefully it's there. Hopefully you're all watching it okay. So here's another good one. My 6-year-old tells me that I'm a bad mom and that she will never love me anytime I deny her something. And sometimes I am afraid it might be true. How can I set limits without being permissive? This is such a super great question, because when we hear our children, show anger towards us, we can feel offended. We can get really defensive. But don't get offended, because then you start defending yourself. And when you're defensive, you're operating from the lower brain. And then we start increasing the tension. And physiologically, we all start to feel threatened. Your kids start to feel threatened. We're feeling threatened. And then we can't go anywhere. We have two reactive states meeting one another, and nobody really can go anywhere with that. So listen, hear it. It's an immature expression of frustration. My daughter, I'm the meanest mom in the world. She has said it all. And she always comes back to me, and not even always, because sometimes it just isn't a big deal to me. I'm like, I've told her, you can tell me anything. You can let it all out. Say anything you want to me, because I'm the only one that will love you and not judge you. Out there in the world, there are expectations, there are judgments. This is the safe space. So when she's in those moments, I listen, and sometimes I get frustrated. I posted in our client forum for people that are in our classes a video once of me, like after a 30-minute physical confrontation with my kid who had gotten, again, she's highly sensitive and has these moments that no one would probably ever believe actually happen at home. But this is, it's about me staying close and accepting of her and not taking it personally, because she comes back, she apologizes, she lets me, we always have this open communication. And it's about our kids, they're saying things, our verbal centers are not connected. When we're frustrated and when we're sad and mad, we say stupid stuff, right? Our thinking centers shut down and we are reactive. And when we're immature, we say dumb stuff. And that's just sort of what it is. But it's about talking about it. It's about going and, so that it doesn't become something that's that your child is building up resentment. It's about going back to her and said, you know what, when I heard you say XYZ, that you hated me, I felt really frustrated, and I may have, and say what you did, say how you reacted. Maybe you're not happy with the way you reacted, or maybe you were just really honest. Maybe you shared anger. So going back and having this reflection with our kids is what matters more than that reactive moment, because she, again, will grow out of that. But we have to look at, these again are general statements. You have to look at, what is the environment like in my home? What's the emotional climate in my home? Whenever somebody comes to work with me, that's the first thing that you have to do, is you have to take the temperature. You have to look at the emotional climate in your home, and how often are you reacting with anger, blame, judgment, frustration? How often are you saying things like, what did I just say? How many times do I have to tell you, you need to learn, you need to listen, you need to learn? Or, I don't want to hear you say that anymore. And again, just our body and we come in with this parental agenda to teach and to, control sometimes. So how often are we coming in with that? And then how often are we coming in and saying, you know what, you're having a hard time staying close to me, so I'm going to hold your hand. And then maybe the child says, oh, I don't want you to hold my hand. And then we wait, and we let them have that moment, and we wait. We look for this cue for the child to relax, because they'll start to relax when we stay calm, when we can stay breathing. And yes, you're 3 or 7 and you're having a moment, and I'm going to breathe through it because I'm 42 and I can stay calm because I've been practicing. And if you're that mom, I have one of the next questions that comes in is, I can't stay calm no matter what I do. So this is practice. How do you stay calm when your child isn't? It's practice. Every time you use that muscle, every time you use that brain, that part of your brain that allows you to restrain your impulses, you strengthen it. You become better at it. Now, there are tools. Mindfulness, meditation for me has been my greatest gift. I just went on a field trip with my daughter's school, and her classmates wrote letters of thanks, some of them to me. They all wrote to the different parents that went on it, and I got one little girl that wrote, thank you for being, coming on. It was amazing. You were nice and funny, and I love that you didn't yell. And then she wrote, not yelling was a plus. Our kids respond to our to how we are in the moment, to our emotional energy in the moment. What are we bringing to the table? Our kids are going to pick up on that. So if we are worried about things, if we're worried about how they're going to act in the future, we're worried about this moment, they're not getting it, then we start freaking out and we start responding from a place of fear. And then, again, it's like two reactive states. It's like locked heads. All right. Again, I apologize if you guys were trying to call in on the line. I don't know what happened there. It shouldn't have anything to do with this because I tried to call in before I even started this and I couldn't get through. So how about this? My daughter is 4.5, and then we're going to talk about some older kids. We'll do some older kids in a minute. My daughter is 4.5, and the rules in our house are always the same. We knew from the beginning how much consistency is important. Again, another mom that's stressing consistency. And yes, consistency, definitely. Kids thrive on rituals and things that they can rely on, times and traditions and rituals that they can rely on, and routines. Super important. But I feel like when we get so attached to those routines and those rituals that we neglect to be conscious and aware of what's actually going on in that moment. And we feel like, oh, we're breaking the routine. We can't break the routine. This routine is important. And we need to be conscious, be aware in every moment. Skills, stress, relationship. What am I building here? Am I working on not getting angry so much? So I'm trying to rebuild the relationship and build trust again. My child knows I'm not going to be reactive. I'm not going to punish and threaten. Then we're building relationship. That's a very different response than if we're working on this skill. So we're standing by and saying, I know this is hard. I'm going to wait, or I'm going to help you. I'm going to give you this tool, or we're going to walk out of the room, or whatever it is that we need to build the skill. Do we need, is it executive function? So do we need to work on lists? Your room is kind of so messy that we can't find things, and it's not working for me. But I know that it's hard for you to keep it clean. So what can we do? What are your ideas? When you have a 10, 11, 12, an older child, instead of clean up your room or threatening and all of this, you need to work with our kids and come at it and say, I know this is hard. I have trouble keeping my stuff together sometimes. This is what works for me. Maybe you have ideas, or maybe you're just helping your child brainstorm what will work for them. Okay, so back to the 4.5-year-old. The rules are always the same. So here's an example mom gives that, for instance, the rule is dinner. If you want a dessert, you have to try everything on your plate. And if you want chocolate dessert ice cream, you have to finish your plate. Okay, so I need columns because this is getting a little involved even for me. So think about, so if we want dessert, we have to try things. But if we want the chocolate dessert, I don't know if she really means that. So I'm just teasing you. But it's a little intense if that's what you do actually mean. So she's a picky eater and loves chocolate. So this is working well in terms of getting her to eat more. So what's happening? You're describing it. Essentially, we're bribing her to do something that she's going to do regularly for the rest of her life anyway, right? Eat food. But every single day, mom says that she's still going to try and ask for the chocolate dessert. Well, yeah, because she's a smart cookie. She's like, I know how to get it. I'm going to eventually get it. Even if she hasn't finished the plate, right? Well, she's thrifty. She's economical. She is efficient. This is a girl who doesn't want to waste time. These are positive qualities, you guys. So every single day, I have to repeat the rule. And mom says, at least she's not having a meltdown unless she's super tired. But I'm tired of repeating myself. And she has the same problem with most rules, actually. What can she do? So the first thing that you can do is you come to our group, any of the groups, Chaos to Cooperation, it's a free group, or our paid group for clients. You come and you share how frustrating this is, and we will support you because you have a very typical 4-year-old. You are tired of repeating yourself. This is where I want to support you, mom. So where's the frustration here? Because developmentally, your child is being persistent. She's not taking a no. She's going to try every chance. These are great qualities. We don't want kids to grow up, hear a no, and be like, okay, I give up. Just like the mom earlier, how can I not get them not to give up in frustration? We want them to feel some of this stress, right? We want them to hear the no. We want them to experience trying, hearing a no, and then trying again, not getting frustrated because there was a no. Or maybe getting frustrated, working through it, trying something, but here's, you're tired of repeating yourself, but it's not her fault, right? So repetition and time, these are the keys to mastery, to growth, to development. So the repetition part, that's just part of development. That's necessary. That's a necessary part of growth. So the consistency, once again, is not in your rules. It's not in the try everything or finish the plate. Your consistency has to be in the responses. So if that's the rule, if the rule is these are the rules, you try everything. When she asks, you smile, and you say, I know, it looks good. You want it now. And then you don't say, but you have to. You leave it at that. You just acknowledge. Observe without judgment. You want that, but look, you haven't finished everything. There's so many different ways we can respond to that because we think we gotta push our kids. We don't have to push. We have to just relax. We have to be calm. So I want you to breathe. When she asks, I want you to breathe, right? I don't even look at her if you have to. Just turn away. But walk away and get a glass of water if you need. And I want you to take 3 deep breaths. And I want you to ask yourself if you're safe. Because sometimes your brain immediately picks up on that asking and it triggers you into everything not being okay. And you can get, you'll run away on that emotional train. And suddenly it's not okay. She's not listening. She's doing this. I'm frustrated. Or even if you accept it, even if you hear it and you get upset and you know that it's okay for her, you still can get triggered, right? So what do we do with that? Here's what I've learned. I have to feel all of my feelings, right? I don't get to just go, oh, I'm triggered. I don't feel anything. Okay, I can deal with you, right? It's not, I don't get to just push it away anymore. I have to walk around, and sometimes my feelings are, I'm going to break down. I'm going to cry. I'm going to cry for like 3 minutes right now. That's what I do. I'm a crier. I'm a proud crier. So I didn't go to law school because I would have cried too much. Became an actor. Crying was very good. And now I know how to process my emotions. It's a work in progress, please. Conscious, not perfect. But that's what I've learned, So when I feel that frustration of being asked something for the 500th millionth time, Michelle's saying she's a crier too. Yeah, go criers, woohoo. We rock, right? We're in touch. We feel that crying releases stress hormones. It's good. Crying is actually really good. So let it out, go in another room, breathe, walk away. Sometimes that's all you need to do. Sometimes it's deeper. Sometimes there's a deeper trigger that's there that's, you were never heard. Nobody ever listened to you in childhood or in college. You had that, teacher who completely embarrassed you. And there's this one trigger that you have when your kid tries to, show you up in public or something. And we get triggered. There's so many different things that, we got these stuck emotions, but it's processing it. So it's feeling it. It's like feeling like I feel like crap. I hate this. I'm mad and I'm angry or I'm scared. Nobody likes to feel scared. We're like, yeah, I don't feel that. Push it away. And then you just freaking feel it. And you live through that moment. So there's the book that I'm going to give away, Rest, Play, Grow, by my new friend and colleague, Dr. Deborah McNamara. It's for understanding preschoolers or anyone who acts like one, toddlers and preschoolers. And she talks about this importance of letting our children, rest in our connection, in our attachment, letting them feel their feelings is just so important. And realizing that young children have feelings that overwhelm them very quickly, and that it's not them, not taking no for an answer or being bad. It's just them having an immature emotional processing system, an immature self-regulatory system, and that will grow and mature again with consistency. All right, let's get back to more questions. So again, your consistency is not in your rules. It's in your responses. It's in how calm and connected, not permissive. So the other mom had said, how do I do this without being permissive? Well, you just don't give in on the limits. You stand there and you watch the child cry and break down, and you keep breathing. And you regulate yourself, and maybe you have a stress ball in your hand that you're squeezing so that you can help yourself regulate in that moment. And then you don't judge yourself for being angry. And then when you're not judging yourself, it's much easier not to judge your children. So let her cry. You empathize. That's hers to resolve with your support, with your close connection. I'm here. Tell me more about this feeling that you're having. Sometimes when you don't know what to say to your child, tell me more. 3 magic words. It doesn't say yes. It doesn't say you are this. There's no judgment. It says, I want to hear about this. And when children feel like somebody wants to hear about them, the human part, that's our humanity saying, I'm heard, I am connected, I have support, I am bonded to this person. And then our brains start to wire up. Oh, this is safe. I can get through this. Yeah. Michelle says, what's up? That's our go-to. Definitely. What's up? I want to hear. I want to know. And then when my kid's so angry that she's like, I don't want to tell you, get away, I back up. I give her that space. I don't get mad that she needs space to get angry. We all want that space. We all want safety. Okay, so here's a little question that's a little bit more, like not emotional based, but what do we do? Wait, where did it go? It was Melissa's question. And where did she go? Okay, how do you handle it when your 10-year-old signs up for app accounts, Instagram, etc., without asking you? We've talked about the rules over and over. I've taken the iPad away. I wrote out a contract. We both signed it. We talked about safety issue. And when I took the iPad away, I put it as we're taking a break, not a punishment. She seemed calmer while on the break. So here again is, how do we handle what? How do we handle her reactions? How do we handle our upset that she keeps maybe signing up for stuff? How do we heal that back? I'm like reading 2 things at once. How do we deal? And this is handle, and it came out, how do we heal? That's what we do. We heal those parts of ourselves that are getting frustrated with this. So kids, they're going to do it. They're going to test the boundaries. They're going to move outside of the boundaries. So, so social media, technology, this is something that we're the first generation of parents, really, that are dealing with this on such an intense level. I had Atari, right? And those phone lines in like 8th grade that you could call that my friends ran up $200 on the party lines. That's what we had. And that's what this is. What did we do? We had to pay back that money. It's about keeping the connection. It's about not, about saying, you know what, this isn't allowed and you broke the rules, and I know that you really wanted this account. What do I do, kid? What do you think? How can I help you with this? That's what I do with my kid, because she's 10. And I'm very much like, I'm going to set the boundary. Here it is. And maybe I'm going to shut off maybe there's just no Wi-Fi at home, or maybe there's a way that she has no access to these things. Because if she's like trying to sneak it and get away, then it's not really about that iPad. It's about where's the connection. She's missing this relationship. There's something that she's seeking, whether it's connection with peers, whether it's approval, recognition. There's something else that the child's seeking if they're trying to sneak away and get these things. So I would work on that. Is she feeling connected to her friends? Another mom was asking, how do we build self-esteem in, I think it was an 11-year-old, or it might have been another 10-year-old. How do we build self-esteem in our young girls, especially in our young boys, even when they have all of these messages telling them what they're supposed to look like and how they're supposed to dress? And I think, there is no easy answer, of course, but part of it is about being willing to listen and not try to rule and control everything. So we have to put the boundaries. So where are the boundaries for your 10-year-old? She's signing up for these accounts. Where is she getting the iPad? Take it out of the house. We need to, and again, if she's sneaking and finding it. She's 10. So the impulse control there, when we're feeling really overwhelmed and we have no other resources, she's either going to try to find somebody. And so let her know it. When this happens, come to me. When you want to go for that iPad and you sneak it, come to me. And maybe she comes to you once, and then the next time she goes for the iPad, right? But then go, you know what? Let's try it again. You can come to me. You came to me that last time. I'm here for you. Right? So just continuing that conversation and making sure that when you put in those boundaries, that you are actually making sure they're in place. Like, you're not putting the iPad in the cabinet and then leaving the house. Like, I'm going to take the iPad with me. Again, the brain takes 20 plus years to fully develop into maturity. Jackie's asking, will it be available to watch later? Yes, it's going to be on the Facebook page, just there. I don't think it goes away unless I take it away, but I'll probably take it down maybe and download the recording, the audio recording, to share with you guys, because normally I record these and then share that part, but our conference call line was not working. I'm so sorry, everybody. If you tried to call in, I will send an email about that later. All right, let's see if I have any questions on here. I've definitely, oh yes, I got the meanest mom in the world sometimes. Definitely, I've gotten that one for sure. How to deal with a very stubborn girl. Celebrate the persistence and then building our tolerance, right? So it's a really general question, but that's, for me, that says, you know, I feel really frustrated because this child is so maybe reactive or difficult or inflexible. And I know that I was a really inflexible child. And so I have a lot of, you know, even though I can get to that, you know, I get to that point with my own kid of feeling so stressed out by her and her inflexibility sometimes and her reactivity. But I send out into the world this kid who is so, you know, growing in her confidence and who is liked by her peers and who is emotionally resilient and who tries things that are hard for her. And I tell you, it's because I have allowed every negative emotion, every outburst. Now, that doesn't mean I've allowed it to interrupt people or places or events. You know, I don't leave a screaming child like, oh, you're crying, you're so sad, we're going to let you go while the wedding's going on. No. You know, but I take her outside and I say, you know, and I comfort the child that's having this moment. And I say, we can't do this here, but we're going to go get some space. And that child goes, you know, because children, when they're freaking out, their brains are on autopilot. You know, these reactive responses, the stress response is a protective mechanism. This is what helps us survive. If we didn't scream when we needed something, when we were babies, then we would sort of be left and forgotten about, and we would wither away and die. So growing out of that kind of immaturity, again, takes a really, really, really long time. All right, more questions. Let's go to questions. Guys, post your questions in the comments. Actually, I probably have questions here. I should look. Oh yeah, there they are. I can see them bigger here. I need my glasses to see things. All right, let's see. We did this one, outbursts. Let's move this. We did stress relationship. We did that one about the toddler. How about this one? We have 2 children, 8 and 10, and my 8-year-old has social emotional issues which cause him to display all of the symptoms of oppositional defiant disorder. Not that it matters, but it's an easy way to paint the picture for you. Yes, definitely. These labels, you guys, are just a collection of behavioral markers that we use to say, oh, okay, this child has this many markers, so we give them this label and that label. But what it is it's the child's ability to self-regulate and organize their thoughts, manage their behaviors, restrain their impulses, you know. So whether your child is hypersensitive, whether your child is gifted kids have a lot of sensitivities and asynchronous development, which makes them like super smart and able to, think about all these really abstract principles, and yet they melt down just like a 4-year-old would in the same way, even though they can, contemplate life beyond here or whatever it is. Definitely very normal. So yes, whatever your kid's label is, sometimes kids are more inflexible and they're more resistant. I probably would have had that label if I don't know if they had that label in the 70s, but I had all the other labels. And then she has a 10-year-old that is extremely sweet and kind and sensitive. Here's the thing. Your 8-year-old, I bet, is extremely sweet and kind and super sensitive, which is why he's so emotionally acting out and having social challenges, because he can't necessarily feel and process the intensity of his experiences. So my Supporting Sensitive Kids class is about that. It's really about knowing. There's a lot of science that talks about our orchid children, our super sensitive kids, and they get these labels. They get all of the labels, because whether your kid has ADD or whether your kid is on the spectrum or whether the ODD, whatever it is, they all represent an intensity of experience that these children are having, and an inability to sometimes manage everything at once. But science tells us that with the proper environment, not only, so traditional parenting, yes, some kids they're going to grow up and they're not going to be as affected by it. I think all kids deserve to be consciously parented, to be treated with this kind of respect and non-punitive limits. However, it's our sensitive kids that absolutely demand it. So this is really great because, one, these are the kids that have so much. Everybody has so much to offer, and we think that these kids, they're not going to be able to grow up and handle life or succeed in academics and all that, but they can. They just need more TLC, and they sometimes have a longer curve in development. So know that your 10-year-old and your 8-year-old are both extremely sweet and kind and sensitive. But so the 10-year-old takes the brunt of her brother's anger and acting out, and she is usually in tears every day. So right there, it tells me that she's super sensitive too, but maybe her sensitivity is not anger, it's tears. And that's, that to me is just, you're probably really sensitive too, Mom or Dad, because usually that sensitivity is hereditary. So she seems to understand and accept that I'm giving him cuddles and reassurance instead of punishment. However, she still takes it very hard. And it's painful for my husband and I to see our kind girl feel so much pain. So, and Mom says sometimes it's to the point where she really wishes that her son had not kind of come in and interrupted this so that we could have had a peaceful home. So do you have any suggestions on what I can tell her to help? So again, sometimes when we say, what can I do to help my child? Sometimes what we mean is, how can I make her feel differently? And this is a tricky place, you guys, because you don't want to be responsible for how your children feel. It is not your job to make them happy all the time or to not feel the intensity of their experience. If you do that, if you go around putting around barriers, how are they going to grow and be resilient to what comes at them? They're going to be like, I need to be protected. So as much as it hurts you, to see this in your child, I want you to first dig into really why this feels so bad for you. What is it that, and then just be okay with it. You don't have to explain it. You don't need to rationalize it. You don't need to, I don't want you to start thinking about your past and then trying to figure it out or go back and fix things. I just want you to feel the feelings, and then whatever comes up, comes up. So again, when we say, how do I help? We want them to, we really mean, how do I get my child to not feel this? And I want you to dig into why that feels bad. And then my tip would just be, don't explain to your child. Don't feel like you need to explain her brother. Listen, you know what? I know that when he called you that name, be really specific. Not that I know he's being XYZ, because then we start judging our kids, and then we make that divide even greater, because then our kids hear judgment. And I'm not saying you do this, who wrote in, but any of us can fall into this trap when we have two kids. We might make excuses, or we might judge the other one, and then instead we just really need to listen to the child that feels triggered or upset, or you're saying she's taking the brunt of this. So going in and just listening, what did that feel like for you? Is there anything I can do? Do you want to talk about it? So don't explain. Don't start trying to legitimize what you're doing to help him. You know what? You can say, I need to give him this attention, but I need to give you attention too. So you let me know if you feel like you're not getting the right kind of attention. Because sometimes kids are just like, I don't feel like I'm getting the attention and he's getting it all. So validate that. And then they go, oh, okay, I do matter. So I don't, that is hers, that her experience with her brother and having a brother who does this to you, that's her experience. That is hers to own and to live through. Because that's the kid who might grow up to be the advocate one day for other kids because of her experience, because she learned how to deal with it, because you were there to support her dealing with it. So again, don't try to take your feelings away from your kids. You just have to be there and be okay. I always say, can you be okay when your kid's not okay? That's the hardest thing. All right, what time is it? So should we take a couple more? I think we have a couple more. Let me look on here. Tips on children interrupting my husband and I having a conversation. It's always at the very end of the day. So let's look at that time, right? It's the very end of the day. It might be that one time when they're finally getting to connect with you, right? Because maybe they've been out at school all day, or, not everybody's been together in whatever configuration we're in, and then you guys come home and it's that time I want to connect. I see mom and dad connecting. I've got things to share too. I want to be part of this family. How do we get them to calm down? I think I have a connecting words one on that. It might have been when somebody was on the phone, actually. But, we say sort of that typical thing that we say is, just you're testing me. I need you to be patient. How many times do I have to tell you? Just wait a moment. What do we do with kids when they can't wait? I let them know with my daughter. I make eye contact, connection with her, and I say, I know you have something important to share. It's really important to me. I want to know what it is. I'm gonna hold your hand until I'm ready to listen. These things don't work in every moment because every moment is different. It's the end of the day. Is it that we do need to give our kids 5 minutes to tell us everything that they need to tell us before we do that? Have they had that sufficient connection, reconnection, reattachment after a long day away? And I'm just assuming maybe that there's a long day away because you didn't specify. But whenever it's at the very end of the day, our kids can delay bedtime because that's like, I don't want to separate from you and go into this dark room where it's scary. Let's stay connected. And now I want 3,000 cups of water and I want to tell you everything about my day. These are bids for connection. So when we recognize that, when we say, I know you want to tell me something, and then we put a young child on our lap, or we say to the 12-year-old, it's very hard for me to focus. I need to finish this conversation. I'm going to go into the other room, right? So I'm taking care of myself. This is what I want you guys to be able to do, right? Because I don't want you to go out and have to find the answers every time. I want you to be able to look inside yourself and say, I know what to do in this moment. So you can think, talk in your head. Tone, attitude, language, kindness. What is my tone sending? What message is my tone sending to my child? What is my attitude? What is the language that I'm using? And what is the level of kindness? You got to think of those things in your head when you're saying things and you're not getting the response that you want. Investigate. What's my talk like? What's my tone, attitude, language, and kindness, my level of kindness? And you may start to find that you're in this pattern with your kid where you're not, responding, you're reacting. You're reacting to these bids for connection with maybe impatience. Like maybe you really want, wait a moment, I'll be right with you, very calm, very logical. And the kid waits, but then they're like 7 and they can't wait anymore. So they start getting in there again. You're like, wait, just wait. And we get a little firmer. And they maybe wait and then they can't wait anymore, right? So practice, not getting offended at the maturity. What I like to teach parents is set the limit by taking care of yourself. If you need quiet and privacy, don't expect the world to cater to you. You go get it. This isn't working for me. I'm going to go in the bedroom. I'll be right back. right? Now, if your child chases you down, banging on the door, this is a relationship thing that we need to start. Your child's needing some kind of connection or reassurance, or they're feeling really anxious, or there's something going on, right? If there's a pattern of that, and it's a little bit deeper. But in that moment, look at how are you responding? Are you saying, no, stop, don't wait, try? Are we challenging one more minute just to be patient for one more minute? We start begging and we start pleading with our kids. No. If there's noise, this isn't working for me, I'll be right back. What you have to say is very important, but I can't listen to it until I'm finishing this conversation. And then maybe if I'm staying there, I'm going to hold her hand so she knows I'm still connected to her. Or if I have to leave the room, maybe I'm going to give her an activity or a book or something, a coloring, something that she can do while she's waiting. Again, every instance is going to be unique, and it's going to require your creativity. So this is not about the exact moment of what you should do in every situation. You really have to look at, what am I trying to build? Am I trying to build skills right now? So I need to be patient. My child is working through the frustration of not being able to feel, okay with whatever this limit is. But as I stand here patient and calm and supportive, I know this is hard. I have faith that you're going to get through this. Do you need anything? Is there anything that I can do to help? Often my daughter will say, stop talking. Like, all she needs from me is to stop talking, to not offer my advice. You guys, it's 3:00. We're at the top of the hour. And I know that our brains start to shut down after too long. So I want to thank you all for joining me here live. Hopefully it was broadcasting okay. Hopefully it was excuse me, it was working okay, because again, my conference call kind of petered out and did not work at all. That's never really happened. So I'm super glad. Maybe it's a sign I need to do more live videos. This is kind of fun. So I look forward to doing this with you again. If you want the recording of this video, I'm going to make an MP3 of it. So sign up on my website for the Supporting Sensitive Kids class, or just go to the Facebook page and look for any of those links. And that's how we can connect further, how I can, there's also, you guys, if you have a sensitive child, go watch my Supporting Sensitive Children preview class, my introductory class. It's like 90 minutes. It's broken up though for you guys, so you don't have to listen to the whole thing. It's a whole introductory series. It was a really amazing class that we did. And you're welcome, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me here. I can see everybody. It makes me feel like I'm not just talking out into the interwebs and there's nobody there. So it was really fun. Thank you for joining me here. But that class, it's available until June 10th. It's a lovely series. Even if you're not going to take the whole class, just listen to that. You'll get so much information on skills, on stress, on the state of the relationship, how to start implementing growth in those 3 areas to help our sensitive kids. And you can use, again, the summer code, or the coupon code SUMMER16, and you can take $100 off of that class through June 10th. Thank you, you guys. You're awesome. Thank you so much. I love Facebook Live. It's like my new favorite thing. I just push the button and I go. There's no setup. There's nothing. Michelle's asking, where do we see or hear this? It's just going to be on the page right now. As soon as I hit finish, you can click the button and start over. That's how cool this is. All right, you guys, I'm so glad it was helpful. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your week. If you have questions, email me. Come join me on the Facebook group, on the website, and we'll talk soon.